Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Steward Leadership Maximum Purpose, Maximum Profit podcast, where we talk to steward leaders who are finding financially viable solutions to environmental or social challenges of our times. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me Benjamin Henry Towell, Executive Director in Global Wholesale Banking in the Sustainability Office of OCBC. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Ben, you have such an illustrious career so far, and why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do currently, and a few prior roles?
Okay, well, certainly. So my role in OCBC is primarily focused at looking at the sustainable built environment and the transition of the very important SME sector. So within that, I look after a small and impactful team where we really get our hands dirty in terms of advisory for our clients, our built environment clients, and the broad SME base, developing innovative solutions like the one we're going to talk about later, and really kind of walking with them on that journey and then directing finance or capital to where it is needed to help those companies really transition to be more sustainable and, deliver on their purpose.
Wonderful. And we're going to be diving into a lot of detail of that in a minute. But before OCBC.
So before OCBC, I spent almost 12 years with the Building and Construction Authority in Singapore. So there, I really focused predominantly on the Green Mark scheme, which is the rating tool for buildings here and also for districts. And, in my spare time, where there is some, I still am quite involved in the architectural scene. So I'm a registered architect myself. And I think back in 2021, the SIA Green Book. So I authored that one, which really looked at how the architectural profession can kind of come together to really start to challenge and embed in practice how we respond to the climate crisis of our time. Still to this day, actually there's a paper coming out in September, which I think the listeners may be interested in, with the World Green Building Council, where OCBC have partnered with them, where we look at rating tools across Asia Pacific and internationally and mapping them against the ASEAN taxonomy and green finance principles. So it's been a real interesting project. And all of these experiences kind of lend itself to the same goal of really sharing the knowledge that we've built up over the time, that I've built up over the time with the various roles and with the kind people that share their knowledge with me, the projects that have been certified through the Green Building Rating Tool or Green Mark, and of course through that wonderful group of green building councils around the world who are, all working together.
You're also a chartered environmentalist. What is a chartered environmentalist?
So a chartered environmentalist is actually an add-on to my role, to my professional qualification as a chartered planning and development surveyor. So really it is for those professionals who have a very strong environmental leaning in their work. So as you know, as I mentioned previously, being part of the Building and Construction Authority and really driving Green Mark, there's always been a very big environmental impetus to my work, and that is a way of demonstrating that through environmental competencies that you're assessed against and continued professional development. So it really just makes sure that whenever I'm giving advice to people or professionally, that I'm still up to date with environmental knowledge and of course I'm practicing in a professional manner.
Mm-hmm. So can you give us an overview of OCBC's SME Energy Efficient Assessment, a tool that you all built? What is it? How does it work? And why did OCBC decide to build it?
We built it in partnership with the Building and Construction Authority. In fact, it was an existing tool on their product shelf that they had. And we saw an opportunity to use it for our SMEs, in particular for those who are buying or operating or renovating a property where traditional building assessment, such as Green Mark, doesn't make sense. So, for example, a strata title unit. So it's a unit where the SME would have control over their fit out. They want to understand the energy performance that they're going to deliver or can achieve, and then it directs them the right way. For example, installing energy efficient fittings, air conditioning, etc. And then they can benchmark or see what different solutions will provide in terms of energy savings or carbon savings. So we saw it as a very quick and easy tool to deliver on that.
So if I'm an SME, I can take that assessment and it'll tell me where I am using energy efficiently and where there are places where I can improve or save and therefore reduce my carbon footprint. Is that?
In essence, yes. It's a simplified building energy modeling tool. So for example, if you were to take, this studio and the surrounding area as a strata title unit, what you would do is you would input the space that you have, you would input the lighting system that you would have, the current air conditioning system that you would have, and any energy efficient features that you may have within the property or the facade that you have control over. And from there, it will be able to estimate your energy performance as compared to using the same model as a green mark whole building assessment would. So it gives a level of comparability. So we can then use that to robustly identify which premises are aligned with the same performance as a highly energy efficient building. So that allows us to really kind of engage our clients to say, look, if you make certain changes like your air conditioning system, which is usually the lowest hanging fruit in their renovation works, and they can see the delta from going from a 3-tick to a 5-tick system and the operational cost savings that they get, it becomes a no-brainer. And so with that, we're actually directing their activity to something beneficial for them. And at the same time, they have access to a green loan to either finance the property or finance the renovation.
The results of the assessment actually lead to access to sustainable finance.
Correct.
Got it.
Exactly. So it's a way of simplifying it for our SMEs.
Very good. And this was the project that won you the SL25 award. And congratulations. This is the third time in a row that OCBC has won the award. So well done on that.
Thank you.
You've also extended the tool to other countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong. Why that? And how were different market norms and climate policies accounted for when you did that?
Sure. So again, going back to the original premise of SMEA as filling the gap where traditional green building certifications don't necessarily make economical sense, or that the boundaries are too small for them to be considered. This has exactly the same. There are exactly the same issues in Malaysia, in Hong Kong, and in Indonesia, and that's where our largest footprint is for our SMEs.
Anyway, yeah.
So we see it as a really important springboard. And again, when we're talking with SMEs, it's about, we're convicted that they need to take the first step, right? And quite often the first step is very tangible. So if you have an office, a warehouse, a retail shop, or a shop house even, then it's a very direct understanding of what you can do. And that's your first step before you start to look at perhaps your business operations. So with that, we see it as a really highly important engagement point for SMEs, no matter where they are. But the process, of course, to regionalize it doesn't mean we can just purely cut and paste what we do in Singapore. We have to look at the climate zones. So Hong Kong is slightly different than it is in Singapore. So is Malaysia when you start to go, further up the peninsula or outside of it, and the same with Indonesia. So with that, we kind of worked with BCA and Hitachi, who look after the tool itself and the programming, to really work out how does that work. So we looked, of course, at the weather files and the climate models, and it's not just that, it's also the level of maturity of the industry and the equipment that's available. So for example, needing to go into understanding what a baseline building there would be like, what are the aircon efficiencies typical or for the tick ratings where they have them. So the grade system in Hong Kong, the star system in Malaysia, etc. So there's quite a lot of tweaking that we had to do to get it to work. And of course, then we need to test it with real data as well.
Just to get it, it doesn't cost an SME anything to use it.
Correct.
And obviously it's all paid for by the bank. What does the bank get out of this?
Well, I mean, it's a way, as mentioned, of really engaging our clients. So whilst, yes, the bank does pay to maintain the tool and to develop the tool, we see it as something which is really positive because it is simple to use and it's scalable.
No, that's true. The fact that we need this it's a good thing, no question about it. But since we are here talking about financially viable solutions for people and planet, what's in it for the bank?
So when we talk about SMEs doing well, we are convicted that an SME that looks after its environmental performance is there for the long haul. So this provides them the first step. In terms of looking at how an SME improves its profitability, it needs to lower its operational costs. We have a tool to help them do that. And for us, it also helps us engage SMEs on that sustainable finance journey.
And it opens up other lending and other opportunities for you. Also, it's a win-win all around.
Exactly. Yeah, it is that win-win where it does open up those opportunities. And it's that first step. So once we have the SME on that first step on their green journey, then that is ripe for opportunities. What more can they do? And that's where we can come in.
No,
and of course,
sense.
Where our capital is needed, then we'll be the ones to provide
because
it.
Because again, the basic premise of this show and of everything we do at SL25 is that, for sustainability to be sustainable, it must be profitable. We can't rely on CSR or other means to save the world. So I think that's why your project won the award, and that's why it's so credible, because it benefits everybody, including the bank. So So how many SMEs have engaged with SMEEA so far? And can you share a success story as to somebody who took the assessment and what happened? How did they benefit as a result of that?
Sure. Well, we've got more than 1,000 SMEs that have benefited from using SMEEA. And I'd like to share an example from one of our first clients in Malaysia, actually, that used it. So Yongyang, they got a green loan from us through SMEA. It helped them invest in new technologies within their premise to improve their operational costs and unlock further capital for them to actually scale their projects in their business. So they were actually quite happy with this, and they even have a certificate which they've printed out and put on display so they can actually share this with their clients that, look, we've actually gone through this. So it's something they're quite proud of. And I think, we're quite proud of it as well, that, they were our first in Malaysia, and it was met with such a positive response that it's really allowed us to start that scale.
And you're saying there are over 1,000 stories like this now in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Hong Kong.
Yes, indeed.
Fantastic. It's benefiting you, benefiting them, and a win-win all around.
Exactly. It's a mutual benefit for us and for our clients.
And looking ahead, how does OCBC envisage SMEA evolving? Where do you see this going?
So at the moment, we've been very focused on the SME segment with it, hence the name. But we also understand that from a large corp space, because I do look after that from the built environment point of view, there are many data issues or tenant issues that they face where this tool can actually form a way of bridging that gap. So we're looking at how can we leverage SMEA for our large corporates to engage their tenants, to help them gather data, to help them improve parts of their asset which they are not operating themselves, so it can support their ambition as well. Okay. So it's a very simple way of standardizing that engagement, gathering the data, and driving action, which then also means that we can support our large clients as well in that journey. So that's how we see it evolving.
Very good. Now, your OCBC's sustainable financing footprint has grown. Last I checked, it was, I think, $56 billion.
71.
It's now plus. 71. Okay, very good, even better. What exactly are you financing with what you call sustainable finance? And how has SMEEA contributed, if at all?
So as a bank headquartered in Singapore, obviously we take reference to international standards when it comes to green finance or sustainable finance, from the green bond principles, green loan principles, sustainability linked loan and bond principles, but also the Singapore Asia taxonomy, which was recently launched. So that kind of gears up to how we are meeting or how we objectify what is sustainable finance for us. So we're very aligned with the Singapore Asia taxonomy when it comes to our green finance financing. And SMEA, in a way, we see as being aligned with the intent of the Singapore Asia taxonomy because it is pegged to that Green Mark 2021 energy performance, although it is a simplified system. So when you say, what do we finance very broadly. So we look at the transition for all at OCBC. The built environment is a key part of that, as is our SMEs. When we talk about SMEs make up the numbers of individual companies. They won't make up the large volume necessarily, because our large corporates, when they borrow, they borrow heavily. But SMEA is a really crucial tool in allowing SMEs to really be part of the sustainable finance journey, and again, move on to doing more things with us.
So in other words, that your 71 billion portfolio, SMEA really is a pipeline in that sense.
Of course. I mean, it is a pipeline in that view of transition for everyone. SMEs, and we are very focused on supporting the SMEs, and the SMEA is a fantastic tool for that. It is that first touch point. And as mentioned, it's very tangible. So it's about, being low cost. It's about being simple to use, and it's about making sure there's a real impact at the end of it.
So, well done on pioneering this. What advice would you have for other financial institutions or policymakers, for that matter, looking into democratizing access to sustainability tools for the small and medium businesses?
I think, as mentioned, it needs to be impactful. It needs to be low cost and easy to use. If you want to get people to use it en masse, that's how you do it. And then you build the complexity later. It really is like the analogy of BCA's Green Mark. It started with version 1, which was very simple. Version 2 rapidly evolved. Then version 3 happened, where it became, more robust. But it was Green Mark 2015 and then later Green Mark 2021 that really put it on the international stage and being, we are now one of the top rating tools in the world in Singapore. And it's exactly the same. So we had to bring the built environment with us on that journey in Singapore. And it's the same with SMEs. You've got to bring them on that journey. Some of them are not going to be engaged to start with. So you make it easy. And once they take that first step, they'll do more. Others are already ahead, so it's fine. So when it comes to making things accessible, it is about low cost, simple, but it has to have impact, and that impact needs to be felt.
Got it. Coming back to you personally, what drew you to OCBC being an architect? And what motivates you? And what do you see as the biggest challenges going forward in sustainable finance? So I know I rolled in quite a few questions, so maybe I'll break it down. What brought you to OCBC being an architect, and what motivates you to keep doing what you're doing day in and day out?
So I think it's one of those things. I'd been in BCA for almost 12 years, 1 month shy of 12 years. And it was fantastic. I really learned a lot. I feel that, the work that I was doing really made an impact. Both here and abroad and to an industry. It was the challenge of taking that to an even wider audience and trying something different. So sustainable finance is seen as a key pillar. It's even one of the core objectives of the Paris Agreement, making financial flows compatible with decarbonization and resilience. So if we want to really drive things, then we need to look at how do we finance things along with that theme. So that was a challenge that I thought that's going to be quite interesting. And being an architect, you're kind of trained for this in a way, not necessarily balancing the dollars and cents, but kind of understanding the macro view and the micro view and being like a chief problem solver. So with that, you're kind of able to maybe see things which the financiers can't necessarily, and then it becomes a bit of a differentiator. So, the whole team from the sustainability office comes with a very different lens than a typical bank or a typical sustainable finance team, because, we're there looking for solutions. How do we engage the clients? How do we create innovative solutions such as SMEA for whichever sector and client group, so that it can, grow our portfolio, but also sustain the client in terms of meeting their objectives.
At what point did you personally decide that you wanted to focus a large part, if not all, of your work on sustainability and sustainable finance. You could have chosen to just remain an architect and build beautiful buildings and design great stuff, but you chose this as your career. What point did that happen, and why?
Well, that's a very good question. In reality, it's probably because I'm a slight megalomaniac. So being an architect is great, but you have that influence over a building.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to really see change at the scale that we need, it's not just a building here and a building there that needs change. It's companies, be them SMEs, be them large corporates. So that to me was the greater calling. How can I have the maximal impact, not just in the built environment, but across sectors? And so that led me to, the dual portfolio of built environment because of my expertise and the passion that I have with it. And, you can really move things and see things changing with it. But SMEs is a wider group because there is no transition without involving SMEs. They are the lifeblood of any economy. And, when you're dealing with them, and you're dealing with the founders, you're dealing with the CEOs, you're dealing with those leading the company, it's their company still. So you can really see the impact that you make when you help them out. And it's very rewarding. So I think, to be honest, I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to, push the boundaries beyond what I was previously doing.
What do you see as the biggest challenges with sustainable finance going forward, particularly in the current environment that we are seeing globally right now?
So actually, I see it as not necessarily a challenge, but it's something that has needed to happen because we have been rewarding everyone for just setting targets and saying, look at me, I'm going to be net zero, or I've got this plan. And, that's great, but everyone's going out, this is eco this is wonderful that, without necessarily the technical substance to back up what is being committed to or what is being talked about.
And not to say that everybody is already behind most of those commitments.
Exactly. So I think that, the bruising that the space and companies are getting for the bombastic claims is something that is necessary. So that we can all really just get our heads down and actually solve the problems rather than tapping ourselves on the back before we even get to the solution. In terms of, are we seeing challenges? I think, yes, there have always been challenges in terms of those who are deniers of climate change, who are now getting louder and opinions are overtaking facts. And that is a problem that is a wider issue. But from a business point of view, when we're talking with businesses about, by the way, if you do this is improving your operational efficiency, there's buy-in. And I think, especially in this part of the world, there is still less skepticism about it. And there's still a lot of kind of untapped potential. And there does seem to be, for all the clients that I meet in the SME space, there is a conviction they need to do something.
That's good.
And there's a groundswell of wanting to do something. It's just navigating how. So there are challenges perhaps at one part of the world, but there's great opportunity in Asia. And I see that Asian businesses are getting it and they're moving.
All right. OCBC has pretty strong sustainability frameworks and commitments for itself. Beyond the number targets, which you referred to earlier, how is OCBC gearing up for success with sustainability as an organization itself? What are you doing other than just those number commitments as a bank?
Well, I mean, the good thing is, as part of the bank, there is the purpose, values, and ambition, which kind of governs the whole modus operandi of OCBC Group, which is not just OCBC Bank, but in its subsidiaries, exactly the whole group. And the ambition is to be Asia's leading financial services partner for a sustainable future. So I think that sets the top-down direction. I mean, numbers are a great way of showing how we're doing things, from our net zero target, from finance to emissions. I know we just talked about targets, but there's a clear commitment on how we deliver that. So every year we ourselves go through it. We don't hire it out. We ourselves go through our net zero kind of performance and work with the business units to understand the gaps and opportunities and where we need to push and which customers we can really start to engage to drive action. So we're using all of this as a way of really having that kind of transition for all sectors, for all clients. And then the wider sustainability office is kind of driven at delivering that from the wholesale banking point of view.
Now, OCBC Group is a pretty big group.
It is big.
And it's diversified financial services, etc. And you mentioned briefly purpose, values, and ambition. How does a group this size ensure that action and behavior is in line with that purpose, values, and ambition? Because only when everybody, or at least most people within the group are not only believe in the purpose, values, and ambition, but act accordingly, then only the magic will happen. So how does a large organization like OCBC actually ensure that it trickles down to action and behaviors down the line?
Oh, I mean, like any organization, you need to have a very strong view from the top that this is what we're committed to do. And then that filters down to all the management. And then you start to have, targets and commitments on people to do it. I mean, it has trickled down. To give an example, we have in the emerging business space, which is the small SMEs, we have, they're essentially sales people that go out and talk to customers to sell. They are selling sustainability as part of their role. They are selling some of the solutions like SMEA, as well as others like we have more than 100 sustainability-linked loans in the SME space. And this is extra work for our salespeople, but they have bought into this. So it has trickled down to everyone in the business side. Because, as I mentioned, it's about the clients. They do well, we do well. So having that longer term view, which OCBC has, that's why it's one of the oldest banks around, is having that long term view with the clients. And I don't think that's going to change.
And besides the long term view, you also believe obviously in innovation and creative resilience, considering you're producing products like SMEEA and others.
Yeah.
And you alluded to something from what I can listen between the lines, that it has to be the strong commitment from the top. So it's clearly a lot of walk the talk happening at the top, which is then trickling down and encouraging other people to do so as well.
Yes. When you look at the purpose, values, and ambition, the ambition statement for the group talks about that, partner for sustainable future. So I think that one is really critical.
So it's right at the heart of strategy then. That's exactly what I'm saying. So very good. Ben, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing with us details of this very innovative SMEEA tool that not only helps SMEs, but also helps the bank in going deeper into the SME community and opens up many, many opportunities for business that is mutually profitable for everybody. Thanks very much. And there you have it, my friends, yet another example of profitable or financially viable solutions for people and planet. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.